Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy, and you're reading with Jimmy. This is a 10-minute quick take of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, subtitled by Jimmy, Strategy, Survival, and a Timeless Playbook. 10-minute breakdown before you read it with me to get you interested in reading it with Jimmy. Welcome, everybody. What if I told you that a 2,500-year-old manual on warfare isn't just about battlefields, but it's about strategy, leadership, deception, and survival in every arena of life, including yours. That's The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a terrific masterpiece of military thought that has guided generals, politicians, business leaders, and everyday people for centuries. If you haven't read it, you got to read it with Jimmy. After this quick take, hopefully you will. So, welcome to Jimmy's Quick Takes, where we distill literature's greatest works in just 10 minutes. So you can deep dive and read it along with me. So, let's explore this classic that teaches us from victory comes not only from strength, but from wisdom, patience, and understanding yourself and your enemy. So, what's the story? Well, ancient China during the late spring and autumn, a time of constant warfare, rival states, everybody's fighting, fighting, fighting. Sun Tzu was a general and strategist. He codified the principles of war that could be applied across any conflict. I guarantee you that every successful general has read this book. The structure, there's 13 short chapters, each focusing on an element of strategy, from laying plans to waging war to terrain, spies, deception. What do you think the most important thing in warfare is, ladies and gentlemen? Deception. Read it with Jimmy and find out. The plot. Well, this is really not a novel or a play. It's a manual. Every chapter starts with Sun Tzu said. So the narrator, which is very important in what Jimmy reads you for classical literature, is important. Somebody is writing down what Sun Tzu said in this manual. It's a it's gripping with clarity. Aphorisms, maxims, all warfare is based on deception, like I just mentioned. If you know your enemy and know yourself, you needn't fear the result of 100 battles. That's very, very, very important. But instead of battles, we're given principles. Instead of Jack Reacher pounding somebody, we're given principles of warfare that, believe it or not, apply to modern warfare and apply to your modern day-to-day life. And I'm going to prove that to you when I analyze it with you. So, what's the big deal about Sun Tzu? Well, he was writing for leaders, much like Machiavelli did in The Prince, which is also on Jimmy's website. Sun Tzu gives us the science of preparation. Victory begins long before the first battle with planning, calculations, patience. He devotes a lot of time to helping you understand why it's important to do these calculations. Don't go willy-nilly into battle and say, yeah, I can win, I can win. The philosophy of adaptability. The general who clings to one plan, the proven formula, is doomed. Change, like water, very important point in Sun Tzu, the shape of its container. Water changes its shape to the container. It's fluid, it flows, just like a battle-hardened army does. It flows. There's not one way to fight a battle. And then it also contains a warning against war itself, because why? It costs a lot of money to fight a war. And he comes right out and said the states have to understand how to fight war, and that the sovereign is the guy who governs the general who governs the army, etc. And that's why you don't want to fight for a long period of time, because it just costs too much money, not just in lives, but money. The greatest victory is achieved without fighting. Well, Jimmy, how do you do that? Read Sun Tzu with me. That's what makes the art of war less about bloodshed, but more about intelligence, deception, and foresight. And I'm going to give you specific examples when we finish reading it together and we analyze it. So, what are some of the themes? Knowledge, deception. The greatest power lies in understanding and misdirecting friend and foe. What does that mean? Well, you don't tell everybody what you're thinking. Loose lips sink ships. Every stronghold has its flaw, every advantage. I was talking to a client today, and he was telling me about how word got out with what he was trying to do, and he was just absolutely destroyed. Destroyed before he even got off the ground. Secrecy is success. Weakness and strength. Every stronghold has its flaw. Every weakness has an advantage. You understand yin yang, right? You can't know right unless you know wrong. You can't know good unless you know evil. You understand these? Read Sun Tzu with me and learn more. Adaptability. Strategy isn't rigid, it's fluid. It bends like water flowing into gaps, reshaping itself. You know, the study of water, have you ever been in a flood? Water doesn't really care, it just flows. That's the kind of violence that he wants a warrior to have if you have to fight. If you have to fight, he wants it over quickly, neatly, and efficiently. By the way, it's the way you solve problems. Leadership and morality. The general must command through wisdom and integrity, not just force. Sun Tzu's text is as much about the mind as it is about the battlefield. So why does this book still matter? Why does his manual still matter? Why the hell should you read it with Jimmy? Well, 2,500 years is a long time, but it's a classic. And that's why it's on my website and on my YouTube channel. Because the lessons of Sun Tzu go far beyond the battlefield. For example, competition never goes away. If you're talking about war, you're talking about conflict and competition, whether you're in politics, whether you're in business, whether you play sports. Watch a football game if you have to, but when you watch it, you know that deception is how you win. You fool the enemy, right? That you fool the opposition. Personal challenges like navigating conflict and risk. Strategy is the most important thing you can think about. The most important. We all face uncertainty. We live in an uncertain world. And Sun Tzu reminds us that the best leaders prepare for the unknown. Practice, practice, practice. What would you do if your company got hacked? What would you do if you got hacked? What would you do if you were walking down the street and got attacked? What would you do if you were driving and saw a car coming straight at you? What would you do? What would you do? Adaptability to decide outcomes. Practice, 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 and turn victory, true victory, without destruction. In an age of global conflict, have you looked around lately, ladies and gentlemen? Conflict is everywhere. Sun Tzu reminds us that the greatest battle is one that is never fought. What, right? Is the one never fought, is more urgent than ever. It's the battle that's never fought. And if you look around today, I can think of several examples where the battle is not fought. And at the same time, I can think of one going on right now for a couple of years that's just crazy. Violating everything that Sun Tzu says, everything. There's lessons all around you. So calling all readers. That's the art of war in 10 minutes. So why not march through it with Jimmy? Here's my website. You're probably on my website reading this, or you're on my YouTube channel. Either way, you're with me. So plan on reading The Art of War with me, and together we're going to explore every chapter in vivid detail, laying plans, the use of spies. I'm going to read it with you, not to you, but with you. And then I'm going to give you a full-fledged analysis. Hold on to your seats because that analysis is not going to be about every group of chapters. It's going to be about the whole book. And it's a 30 pager. So make sure you have a lot of coffee when you read the analysis with me. So I want to leave you with this thought. What battles are you fighting? And what would it mean to you to win without even drawing a sword. And that's in the literal sense, right? Without even fighting. In other words, you win before you even move. You get that promotion before you even have to fight for it. Whatever. Thanks for joining me on this quick take. Whether you're on YouTube or on my website, you have access to hundreds of hours of classical literature. And remember, we read the classics to learn how other people lead their lives and how to lead our own. And they're classics. Why? Because Jimmy says so. That's why he puts them on this website. There's a lot to read, a lot of classics, right? But the ones we put on here are for your enjoyment and benefit and knowledge. Because remember, as Ezra Pound says, classical literature, true literature, is language charged with meaning. And for the art of war, I've divided it up into 5 parts, plus an in-depth analysis. So enjoy it, whether you're on YouTube. And by the way, Jimmy at reading.com, Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com, pardon me, Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com is my email address. You see it down here. Send me an email and let's talk war. Thanks for coming by for the quick take. Enjoy your day. Be careful. It's a dangerous world out there.